KMES English Medium Junior College welcome its students for the online lectures of philosophy for Standard 11 for Chapter 6 Science, Technology and Philosophy. For the topic the interrelationship between science and philosophy and the problem generated by technology. The interrelationship between science and technology. Philosophy shows us what the question it considers and the answer it put forward has changed in course of time. In the past few centuries, science has more or less tackled the central metaphysical question, what is, and is moving fast forward, solving the riddle of how do we know. Different scholars told different opinions on this matter. Science studies the experimental material world. Those who believe that there is no reality beyond the material world agree that such a world can be known only through scientific method. Some philosophers believe that there is not a strong enough support for the view that does not fall within the limit of sense experience. That is why the study of this reality does not come within the scope of science. What is rigid materialism? They have no considerable question such as can the supersensible reality be known? If it can be known, how? These philosophers believe that it is the job of philosophy to attain knowledge of this reality and in the light of this knowledge guide us about how life should be lived. Philosophy has sometimes different to offer even in the field of metaphysics and epistemology. Epistemology began discussing scientific methodology. Extensive use of science come to be well recognized as a field of the study that give us extremely elaborated knowledge of empirical world. The development of social science under the influence of natural science kindly whispered rumination on whether they should have a uniform methodology. Humanity is one of the earliest chapters. Humanity does not use scientific method. The whole review suggests that although science has successfully resolved major questions in philosophy, metaphysics and epistemology are significant till date. Due to the continuity of philosophical inquiry, philosophy today aims at synthesizing philosophical questions with answers from science and creating a coherent, comprehensive perspective of looking at the world. Ethics and ethics emerge chiefly with the value concern. The problem we face while living in the 21st century are somehow associated with scientific and technological process. Problem generated by technology. We live in the world dominated by science and technology. Technology occupies our life. Technology has brought the world closer and has broken into parts at once. Technology has helped us to achieve tremendous speed, but the very speed is posing threat to our life. Weaponry has become unimaginably destructive today. Pollution is yet another crisis. Our natural resources are fast depleting and degrading. All this affecting the standard of human health and human life. Technology, it is very important to understand what technology is. It is equally important for a student of philosophy to know what science is and how the knowledge of science affects our life. The awareness of their nature and the interconnection shape our outlook toward the problem raised by technology. We have a glance at certain philosophical questions. What is, how do we know, and how does knowledge affect our conduct? Once upon a time, mythological come to be an attempt to provide true answer to what is. The causality of rainfall, as it is explained in Thor's tale, might sound fantastic to us today, because science has explained the phenomena of rain in a different way. The word science is being used as a natural science here. Science is the study of law of nature. Technology, processing of physical matter. Whereas philosophy of science and technology is analysis of natural function and the purpose of science and technology. Subjective, objective and intersubjective reality. Science is the study of law that can be absorbed in the objective reality. What is objective reality? It is a kind of reality that can be verified by anyone. This reality is not a figment of someone's imagination. The reality that can be verified by everyone using sense perception and other instruments are called objective. There is also an intersubjective reality. Its existence depends on what several people believe in. For example, a blank note that we use to art a piece of paper. Paper is a material object, but the value worth of this particular kind of a piece of paper is a part of intersubjective reality. This reality is not a part of objective natural world, unlike gravity, even though its value is accepted by one and all. The journey of science. Science discovered the laws that apply across space and time. They are called universal law of nature. Science detects its course from mythological religion, belief and philosophy. Human has certain customary belief in the past which has religious stagnation. Galileo challenged this belief in 16th century. He shook the popular belief and had to suffer a grave as a result. Science has busted many such conventional ideas and notions by eliminating what is real. Even today, questions penetrate to objective reality are provided with imaginative answers. Science has answered a lot of what is and how do we know in very way of life. Physics tell us that the world is made up of particles. The particle has action interaction among themselves and formulate elements. Biology tells us that the early DNA of the living molecule was formed by the matter alone. The law of evolution explains the process of the living world. Science continues to remain aspect of universal and item to be unfolded. Technology and science are intimately connected. Sometimes we altogether mistake technology for science. We live in the world immersed in technology as it were. No sphere of our life remains untouched by it. Sometimes it is slave, sometimes it is slave. This being so, one has to formulate one's technological policy. If technology capable of resolving the problem it has created, it would require help from science and philosophy. Technology is a process of matter. Everything is technology in a sense, right from cultivation of land to today's smartphone. The interrelation between science and technology. The ancient man possessed the knowledge of nature, of law and their mechanism. It would not have been necessary. They would keep experimenting, working on the material and advancing the technology. But the experiment revealed fundamental facts about matter to humans. The processing of elements is a matter of technology, but the periodic table is a fundamental science. We can realize that the periodic table had many uses. It became easier to know how the elements would compound with each other. What are their characteristics would be? Science and technology work as a pair. They influence each other. Technology and man. If technology is the processing of matter, this processing does not take place on its own. Someone has to work on it. Secondly, creation of byproduct is a consequence of processing. Heating water on chula will produce smoke and ash. The undesirable byproducts are called wastage. The combustion of petrol, diesel produce smoke. We call it pollution because they smoke bother us. Electric vehicle does not produce smoke and we think they are clean. But the havoc that electrical based technology brings on the source is well beyond our perception. We are aware of innumerable stages of complicated technology and the problem they create. What do we expect from technology? Technological solution of our technological problem. Some might say electric gadgets apparently reduce the effort involved in collecting firewood. But we must see that the people take various kinds of efforts to design the technique. Equipment gadgets. Their usage, maintenance, repairing and disposal keep the solving our times and labor. In olden times, people heat waters on chula. It's still used at many places. How does one have to do? One has to collect the firewood, light the stove, etc. It involves certain effects. Someone has to take the responsibility of collecting the firewood. Some have to suffer the smoke of the chula. It causes damage, but people cook food on it. People obtain light from it, which means the technology of chula affects everyone in different ways. How is electricity generated? Till date, we produce most of electricity from coal. We extract coal from mine. We process it, burn it, heat water on it, convert the water into steam under high pressure and use the steam to run the engine. The running engine generates electricity. This is the entire procedure. The electricity that has to be stored. It has to be distributed to far off places. This requires system effort. Innumerable people have to work under hazardous and unhealthy conditions. Science, technology and economics. We have to pay for the labor and harm. What do we pay for? Good and services. Good and service is nothing but matter of energy. Things are produced by processing matter and its human being or non-human organism. They run on energy they get from food. But again it takes human to produce, use, maintain and dispose the machine. Economy is based on goods and service, which are governed by law of the material world. Science informs us about this law. This is how empirical world and economy are connected. Technology solves problems on the one hand and raise problem on the other hand. History of humanity illustrates that some technology inventions are of ingrained in human life, that it is rather impossible to survive without them. Cooking, cooked food, clothing, housing, etc. These have become fundamental to our life and very few can manage to live without them. This means we have to put it in the necessary effort to some amount of technology. Introduction to Environmental Philosophy. Human use of technology is not a recent phenomenon, but initial extrasomatic energy, the kind that we get from combustion of wood or coal or oil, wasn't used in enormous quantity. The Iron Age began 4,000 years ago and our natural surrounding has been undergoing drastic, rapid transformation since then. The use of steam for generating mechanical energy was invented at the end of the 18th century. Electrical energy was invented soon after the transformed the entire tech scene. In the vast, the discourse over effect of complex technology on other life form and on our prosperity began in the 1970s. Ecosystem come under threat. Air, soil or water got polluted. Humans were in the great crisis. We realized it after innumerable change has taken place. How to turn back the wheel of time? Philosophy changing stand on science and technology. Philosophy does not accept itself to interfere directly with objective world. The analysis of the anthropocentric view of technology falls within the scope of philosophy. Philosophy does not restrict itself to what is and how do we know. It also asks if existence has a meaning, a purpose. If it can have a purpose, it can have value. What kind of value? How to ascertain that value? So even if the science tackles with what is in it entirely philosophy, philosophy must search out what should be. It must be marked here that standing where we are now in the course of development of knowledge, no discipline can stay untouched by the influence of other disciplines. All branches of knowledge are linked to one another. Every discipline therefore has to be aware of what is going on in the other discipline.